Hi cuties. So today I'm withering away. I'm not gonna lie to you fellas. I just completed the Phantom Liberty DLC after another 60-ish hour playtime session in Cyberpunk 2077. And I'm just gonna say it right now, it's probably the best DLC I've ever played in my entire life. But before I even sniff the stench of Dogtown, I just want to gush over the new Update 2.0 features in this game. Cyberpunk 2077, as we all know, came out in a horrendous, disgusting, putrid, nasty state. And I was there day one on my base PS4 with cockroaches in the back of it, smelling like an airport bathroom, playing this shit all night, coping my ass off, pretending like it was the game that we were promised from the beginning. And I mean it, despite the fact that it was so bad it had to be removed from digital storefronts, I still beat it within a week of its release and 100%ed like at least a couple of those damn districts. Night City immediately felt so enthralling to me, and I found myself actually just driving around in awe like a loser. CD Projekt Red had me shilling it up for them despite selling me snake oil and pretending like it was some damn creamy Dr. Pepper. Fast forward to now, almost 3 years later, and 2.0 is here ready to wash away the sins of the 1.0 version, promising a new swag built from the ground up. I'm just gonna go through all the new stuff that was added and just give my honest, true Ripper thoughts, okay? The biggest thing is the brand new perk system. In 1.0, the perk system felt like Call of Duty perks, bro, I don't know. Incremental upgrades that made a skill go from like 1% to 2% and shit like that. I barely even paid it much mind in my original playthrough, and I would go several levels without even upgrading shit because I simply didn't have to. But bro, this 2.0 skill tree is dense. I had to respec halfway through because I realized my build was way too balanced across the board, and I needed to max out trees instead of trying to divvy it all up and be a default average bitch. I went for like a max reflex and intelligence build, successfully completing the certified yummy Ripper build. I was flying through the air, dashing around with my invisibility cloak on, hacking motherfuckers and not getting traced, and let me just say, it felt so amazing taking down an entire outpost like that. Oh way. I also maxed out the Netrunner skill tree and had cybernetic enhancements in every nook and cranny they allowed me to shove inside myself. That's another new feature as well. Adding armor is strictly through cybernetics now. That way I don't have to dress up like a fucked up clown because somehow like a purple visor with booty shorts and flip-flops gives me the most armor possible. Like what the fuck? My cybernetic upgrades gave me all my cool little gadgets and helped my overall combat, especially the new stamina for shooting, sprinting, and dashing. At first, I hated the idea of stamina for guns because, like, how does that make any sense at all? But after I leveled it up and got better with the ARs and such, it actually felt like a better way to enhance the combat flow because, I'm gonna be honest, the game at launch was way too fucking easy. This playthrough, though, I did it in the hardest difficulty, and I'm gonna be honest, some of the bosses were absolutely mollywhopping my shit, dude. Remember when I said I had to respec? I did that mid-boss fight because he was whooping my fanny so hard I had to dump some skill points in blades and shit just to jack the Ripper his ass up, okay? Various new changes to AI and stealth helped this game so much, improving on a formula that was a little silly before, like you would snipe a motherfucker and his friend next to him just wouldn't hear his body collapse to the ground, simply because his vision cone wasn't looking at him. Like, bro, come on. The new vehicle combat and wanted system is okay. It's insane thinking about how it wasn't in the game in the first place before, like, it kind of infuriates me that I even have to brag about it as a new feature, but it's done nicely enough in this game. It feels like GTA 5, I guess. I don't know, dude. And see, that's just the thing. Despite all these new fantastic changes on an already good foundation, still doesn't see the base game become what was originally promised to us in 2018. Not to be a Karen-ass bitch or anything, but like, I'm still a little salty I was gaslit into believing that this many people would appear on my screen at once. Like, let's be real. This shit should have never came out on PS4 and Xbox One. Ridiculous, dude. I also still didn't use the crafting and upgrades menu unless it was like to make more ammo or some shit in a pinch, so that's a feature where not much progress has happened since 2020. Overall, Cyberpunk 2.0 added so much for me in my third playthrough of the game, except for Judy to Love Me as a Man V, but that's neither here nor there. This update, although very late in the life cycle I admit, feels like such a breath of fresh air for a game that already had so much going well for it. Playing this after a Bethesda experience like Starfield has me appreciating this game's shooting mechanics, characters' emotions on faces, and just the wonderful mocap performances, especially during the sex scenes, way more. It feels so ahead of its time, and I just want to kiss this game's lips. I just can't help but imagine a world where this was the version we got at launch, and I get a little teary-eyed because the reception would have put this game in greatest of all time talks, I swear. I can't believe I forgot to mention this too, but I only experienced like one bug overall, and it is kind of ass, I'll be honest. If you say the wrong dialogue option to Johnny after a Judy or Pan Am mission, it'll make the screen all wobbly wonky and shit, and I couldn't fix it until I reloaded the save entirely, and that also happened to my yummy friends as well, so be wary, my brothers. So, after all this time, and for every flaw it has, there's 17 things it does amazing. So, just for the regular baseline 2.0 Cyberpunk experience, I will give you guys an honest ripper rating, okay? I'm gonna plug this bitch in at a solid 9 rips out of 10. Yep, you heard me correctly. Night City is as fun a city as ever to experience and fuck around in, accepting missions from men with malfunctioning penises, or falling in love with sexy companions, and in the state it's in now, I can't recommend it enough, despite being lied to by CD Projekt Red all those years ago. Alright, let's get to the real meat and potatoes now here, my yummies. Idris Elba's fine ass, okay? Before I start, I just want to let y'all know I'm not going to spoil nothing and only talk about shit that we all saw from the trailer, okay? Alright, yep. Phantom Liberty is Cyberpunk taking a spy thriller, futuristic-ass James Bond approach to the game, including the new area of Dogtown, which has a very different vibe to the rest of Night City. Where Night City has tall skyscrapers and flying cars, Dogtown has incomplete buildings and doodle cars. The DLC starts with V having to rescue the president after her ship gets shot down, and let me tell y'all, with no exaggeration in any way, shape, form, or fashion, the intro to this DLC is one of the most exciting, fun things I've ever played in a video game, bitch. It hooks you instantaneously, especially for new players who skip the baseline experience just to go straight to the DLC. You immediately get introduced to Songbird, who is one of the 2 huge new characters added alongside Solomon Reed, aka Idris Elba fine ass. Songbird begs V for help with the president and promises him a cure to his little Johnny Silverhand problem, and seeing as how I think he's insufferable as fuck, hearing her say that had me crying with excitement. I will say though, the new Keanu Reeves model is sexy as shite, and Johnny in this DLC is simply there to fuck around with V and cooking you for being a little corpo shill, so he's a lot better in this instance. The story for this DLC takes you on a long winding road of twists and betrayals akin to something you'd see in like a James Bond movie or something like that, but the problem is everybody that they add is just so fucking cool, it's really hard to pick a side at all. The spy thriller theme that they were going for is something that fits the vibe of Cyberpunk so well, like using behavioral implants to impersonate other people. It felt like playing a futuristic-ass Hitman game, and I fudging loved it. I remember reading something before the game came out about how the decisions were actually going to matter in this expansion, and I'm here to report to y'all right now, they were not fucking lying, okay? Like, the restructuring of gigs and side quests in this area alone was so great because even in these bite-sized missions, you get so many branching pathways and decisions that actually have weight and aren't there just for you to level up or make money and some shit like that. Oh, by the way, this is kind of a spoiler, but there's a side quest for El Capitan in this DLC that reminded me of the Simeon missions from GTA 5 where you just deliver him stolen cars and shit, and let me just say, you get so rich off that shit and it gives you huge discounts to buy all the best cars in the game, including the Akira bike, so I highly recommend it, bitches. There's a few new gun blueprints added to this area as well, and although I hate the gameplay loop of like dropping one gun for another simply because it has 1.5% better dick shot damage, it was still fun sifting through my inventory and checking out all the new stuff. Weirdly enough too, I noticed during my playthrough like hundreds and hundreds of clothing items for some reason in chests scattered all throughout Dogtown. Like every single one of them had like at least 3 legendary assless chaps and stuff. But it helped because I just broke them apart into legendary crafting components anyways, so thanks I guess, I don't know. Calling some of the characters you met in the base game like Pan Am actually leads you to new dialogue options too, which was such a fresh thing to hear, and I'm glad they added that nice level of detail. The length of the DLC was something that I was actively worried about just because I honestly didn't want it to end. It was that good! So I ended my Phantom Liberty playthrough about 20 hours in, which definitely did not overstay its welcome by any means. Not to just keep repeating myself too, but bro, the performance by Idris Elba is so amazing in this DLC. It's insane to me how video games like this aren't nominated for the Oscars and shit. It makes no sense. Ooh, and they added these little random supply drop Call of Duty care package ass things scattered throughout Dogtown that help you level up and give you amazing legendary loot, which, since the DLC helps raise the level cap to 50, is an awesome addition because you know my fat stinky ass definitely maxed out my V to level 50. I feel like I'm ranting so hard, so I'm sorry, but this shit is just so fantastic. I suppose I will now lightly prance around talking about the endings. All I will say is that there's no definitive one, and I recommend saving right before the final mission just so you can experience it all. And once the DLC ends, depending on your choices, you can either end the game right then and there with a new base game ending that they added which directly connects to the DLC, or you could just straight up continue V's journey and act like none of that shit ever happened. I will say, I went with the latter option, which left me feeling so empty because I started driving around at night while it was raining, which just made me so sad thinking about how this really was the final piece of content for Cyberpunk 2077 entirely. In the beginning, we were promised at least 2 DLCs like Witcher 3 and perhaps a standalone multiplayer experience, but it was so doodoo saucy in the beginning, they spent the last 3 years just fixing up past mistakes instead of creating better experiences, which makes me cry. The bumpy road of the release of Cyberpunk and the journey up until now is such an oddly bittersweet moment. Because on the one hand, we now have an ultimate version of this game in working order attached with a delicious expansion that I honestly can't recommend enough. But after completing this DLC, all that was left in my mind was contemplation over how much better this game could have been if they simply weren't rushed, and validating my feelings that it could have been up there in the pantheon of all-time greats. As for the DLC by itself, I know y'all are begging on your knees wondering what I will plug it in the Honest Ripper rating system. And you will be ecstatic to find that this expansion, Phantom Liberty, is an undeniable 10 rips out of 10. A roller coaster spy thriller from start to finish. If you haven't played Cyberpunk in a while, or if you haven't played it at all, please for the love of God just shell out the 30 smackarooskies for this shit and play it. You can start it immediately from the main menu if you don't want to play the main quest again, but I recommend doing even that as well for the full gamer sweaty experience. And that's about it, my yummies. I had to take a little extra time to soak this game's sauces all up because it had me emotional, I'm not gonna lie. But I hope you loved the video as much as I love y'all. Drop some hacks on that like button, stealth take down the subscribe, and I love you guys.
Bye.